Forget everything you thought you knew about how far X-Men 97 could go. Season 2 just delivered the most violent, horror movie-inspired chapter this franchise has ever produced. And the biggest monster in this episode isn't even a new villain. It's Wolverine himself. He lied to his entire team about the real reason behind the mission, and by the time the truth comes out, the damage is already done. This is an episode focused entirely on Wolverine trying to get his adamantium back. I know some people are calling it a filler episode, and others find it a bit divisive because of certain writing choices. Personally, I disagree on both counts. In fact, the more I think about this episode, the more I love it. To understand how an episode about recovering a medal turns into the wild ride I just promised, we need to go back to the very beginning. Literally. Right in the opening credits, the animation gives us an X-ray of Wolverine's life. His turbulent history with Sabretooth, his days with Team X, Maverick, and Eureka. Everyone on this crew was recruited by him because they all share a history with the Weapon X program, along with the mutant Garrison Kane and Morph, who is actually the only one without a direct connection. The one who really stands out early on is Garrison Kane. In the classic 90s series, he only appeared once, and it wasn't even in a Wolverine-centric episode. In the comics, his strongest tie is actually to Cable. Seeing Maverick back was a massive treat too. I recently watched the 90s show, and that old-school design is just so iconic. Though, I have to warn you, things don't go great for Maverick fans in this one. The episode's title itself is a dead giveaway. It's a clever play on Weapon X, Lies, and Videotape, a classic 90s episode that also focused on Wolverine. And this new chapter is essentially a direct sequel to that. Logan puts this team together without telling them his real motive. He wants his adamantium back. Everyone else thinks they're going after Dr. Cornelius for personal revenge, since almost all of them, including Yuriko, have history with the project. Her father, after all, helped develop the process of bonding the metal to human bones. I actually did some digging on Dr. Cornelius because I couldn't quite place him, and there's a good reason why. He never physically appeared in the original 90s series. He was only mentioned as a shadow. Another interesting detail, in the comics, Garrison Kane is actually the one who goes by Weapon X, something the animated show never explored. And it's worth noting that this raid on the Weapon X facility is a 100% original story, not an adaptation of any specific comic arc. In the comics, Wolverine gets his adamantium back after defeating Sabretooth in a brutal fight, since Sabretooth was the one carrying the metal at the time, a transfer orchestrated by Apocalypse that took years to resolve. The animated series went in a completely different direction, which is interesting because Apocalypse is the big bad of this season, and they easily could have tied those two threads together, but they chose a different path instead. We have a classic video on the channel deep diving into what happened to Wolverine after Magneto ripped out his adamantium. Make sure to click the card up top and check it out once this video ends. The episode kicks off with the team inside a transport plane, and they are definitely not getting along. It actually feels a lot like the opening of James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. But the real direct inspiration here is John Carpenter's The Thing, with a heavy dose of Alien. You can feel that tension from the very first encounter. As soon as they reach the base, mutated birds attack out of nowhere. Morph can't keep the chopper steady, and we get our first casualty. Kane dies in the crash. Honestly, who cares about Kane? Killing off a random character to raise the stakes of the mission is a classic Suicide Squad-style move, and it works perfectly here. If you're a Kane fan, I'm sorry, but the writers did him dirty. The detail that actually matters is the green blood on those mutated birds, our first major clue that something much bigger is going on. That green blood is massive foreshadowing for the Brood, who turn out to be one of the main threats of the episode. Honestly, I didn't suspect them until they actually showed up on screen. The Brood is a hive mind alien race that actually appeared in the classic series, but under a different name and with a totally different design to make them easier to animate back then. That's why Wolverine doesn't recognize them right away. And it's not just the birds. A mutated bear attacks the group too. Morph transforms into Sasquatch, a former Alpha Flight member. This is no coincidence. Almost every single one of Morph's transformations in this episode is directly connected to Wolverine, except for the pure fan service ones, like Spider-Man and The Thing. We'll also see Puck and Guardian from Alpha Flight pop up later on.
Logan shows up, but even he can't take down the bear alone. Sabretooth has to step in and save the day. And as a quick reminder, Sabretooth is not Wolverine's brother. That was a movie invention. Logan does have a brother in the comics, but it's definitely not Victor Creed. Their rivalry in this cartoon is legendary, and the opening intro even shows a flashback of them fighting in the snow, a direct callback to a classic episode where Sabretooth attacks a village. Here, Sabretooth notices Wolverine is fighting with bone claws, which raises the obvious question: how did that happen? Logan keeps hiding his real agenda, and their investigation reveals that something went horribly wrong inside the Weapon X facility. The place is littered with dead scientists, with only one survivor left, Dr. Cornelius. This entire sequence is surprisingly violent. I'm definitely not complaining, I loved it, but I didn't expect this level of gore from this show. It does wonders for building the horror movie atmosphere the episode is going for. During the search, Morph mentions Graydon Creed, the son of Mystique and Sabretooth. In the classic series, Graydon was part of a radical anti-mutant hate group called the Friends of Humanity, a pretty ironic name since they hated mutants, and he was literally the son of two of them. This also makes him Nightcrawler's half-brother, making it one complicated family tree. Fun fact, in this universe, Sabretooth isn't named Victor Creed, but rather Graydon Creed. And hey, if that iconic pose Wolverine strikes later in the episode looks familiar, it's a direct reference to the legendary 1982 Wolverine miniseries by Chris Claremont and Frank Miller.
That run set the foundation for the character's solo mythos and is an absolute must-read. Support the channel. The comic is available on our Amazon storefront via the pinned link in the description. Any purchase you make through our link helps support the channel. If you prefer collectibles, check out our YouTube shopping shelf below, where we've curated some awesome Wolverine and Omega Red action figures at exclusive prices for our subscribers. Back to the episode. One of the high points is definitely Morph's interactions with Sabretooth and Lady Deathstrike. The only issue is that despite this being a Wolverine-focused episode, Logan barely interacts with these characters who share so much history with him. Morph takes over almost all of that heavy lifting. While those scenes are great, it feels like a bit of a missed opportunity. We then find out that the Brood was the one that wiped out the entire Weapon X project. Everyone is dead, including Cornelius. We get a really solid action sequence here. It's slightly below the best episodes of the season, like episode 4, but still miles ahead of almost any other superhero animation on the market right now. After escaping the first wave of the Brood, the team starts doubting everyone, including Logan, who mysteriously vanished right after the plane crash. This is pure The Thing energy, reminiscent of that classic X-Files episode about infection paranoia. It works brilliantly for the tone, because these characters can't stand each other. Wolverine put together a crew of people who actively hate one another, and he continues to keep them in the dark. The group splits up. Wolverine heads off with Maverick, reminiscing about their Team X days, while Yuriko reveals to Morph why she calls him Tomo, referencing a Japanese fable. As Logan's ex, she sees right through Morph's feelings, warning him that it's only going to end in heartbreak. Spoiler alert, she was 100% right. Sabretooth powers up a control room using his surprisingly nerdy side, and Lady Deathstrike's joke about Laserdisc is a great nod to obsolete 90s media. They soon discover that the Weapon X program was using a captured Brood alien to try and mind control mutants to serve the government, specifically the mutant Magog, and that it went horribly wrong. This ties directly back to the classic episode, Weapon X, Lies, and Videotape. Since they couldn't fully brainwash mutants, they turned to the Brood as the ultimate mind control weapon, which proved to be incredibly dangerous. And then we get hit with a massive wave of fan service on the laserdiscs in the room. Aurora, former Alpha Flight, Phantom X, Weapon 13 in the comics, Silver Fox, Wolverine's old flame from Team X, Aldo Ferro, also from the Weapon X program, Mastodon from Team X Intelligence, and the Winter Soldier, who needs no introduction. There's one name translated as Ant that I searched high and low for and couldn't find any real connection to, not even to Ant-Man. It remains a mystery. There's also Kimura, tied to X-23, Worm, a Savage Land mutant with no obvious Wolverine connection, and a standalone disc for X-23 herself, Laura Kinney, a character who famously debuted in the X-Men Evolution cartoon before ever appearing in the comics. After that festival of references, Morph almost gets infected, but barely escapes, just as a distress call comes in from Maverick. On the bottom level of the base, they find an Omega Red capsule. Seriously, if this episode was missing any classic Wolverine reference, it was this. And honestly, it felt like overkill. To me, he was the one element that really didn't need to be here. Maverick shows up terrified, begging to get out. And then the bomb drops. Wolverine actually was infected, and he transforms into a Brood-mutated version of himself. This actually happened in the comics too, as a direct homage to the iconic cover of Uncanny X-Men number 234. The comic storyline itself doesn't match this episode other than the infection detail, but taking that specific visual and adapting it here was a highly clever choice. My only gripe is that, once again, this choice deprives Wolverine of the chance to actually interact with the rest of the cast. The team tries to run, but Morph stops them. Only then does everyone realize Logan lied. He was really after the Adamantium. Morph fights for his friend and comes up with a plan, but Sabretooth interrupts them, turning it into a two-front war. The Brood on one side and an infected Wolverine on the other. At the climax, Morph tries to appeal to Logan's humanity and fails. With no other option, Morph transforms into Jean Grey. She's the only one who can truly break through Logan's barriers. That must have been incredibly painful for Morph, who deeply cares for Wolverine. This isn't the first time he's done this. It happened in Season 1, and this episode really amplifies everything that was left between the lines regarding Morph's feelings.
And this is where the most divisive part of the episode lies for me. Wolverine puts this entire team at extreme risk for a personal mission, and because he's infected, he doesn't even get to properly mourn Maverick's death. The way I view the character, and feel free to disagree, is that the real Logan would have preferred to go on this mission completely alone out of pride.
But that would have ruined the premise of the episode, which needs an ensemble cast to work as the horror movie it wants to be. I understand the choice, even if I don't fully agree with it. In the chaos, Omega Red breaks free and becomes the ultimate unstoppable threat. Morph transforms into Spider-Man and Deadpool. Turning into Spider-Man isn't actually a great idea here, because since Spidey's web shooters are mechanical cartridges, Morph can only do flips and dodge without actually shooting any webs. Meanwhile, the plan to throw Wolverine into the Adamantium chamber actually works. Logan snaps back to normal and strikes that iconic pose from the Claremont Miller cover, complete with a special move straight out of Marvel vs. Capcom. The team escapes, conveniently finding a plane ready for takeoff just as the facility explodes, taking the Brood down with it. Omega Red probably survived, because, well, he's Omega Red. And there's a shot of Maverick's body that leaves you wondering, is he really gone? Because, let's face it, that's just how comic books work. 1 minute a character dies, the next, they're back. In the epilogue, Wolverine tells Morph that, unlike him, he is only one thing. There are a lot of ways to interpret this, but I see it as Logan shutting down any potential romance between them. It's exactly what Lady Deathstrike warned about. Logan only cares about himself and Jean, period. Anyone who tries to get close ends up hurt, just like Morph did. The episode ends with Wolverine sitting alone at the back of the plane, staring at his claws, with Morph watching him from a distance.
It's a killer ending, and it starkly contrasts with the comics, where Wolverine is usually portrayed as the ultimate team player for the X-Men. Overall, I thought it was a really great episode, even if it's far from the best of the series. As for the filler debate, it really depends on your definition of the word. For the main Apocalypse storyline, it might not move the needle much, but Wolverine is an X-Man,
This is an X-Men show, and he leaves this episode with his Adamantium back. That is massive, permanent character development, similar to Jubilee's solo episode in the past. It's not filler, but I understand why some fans wanted to see the Apocalypse plot move faster. And as for a solo Wolverine spin-off, I'll pass. I love the idea of having one Wolverine-centric episode per season, but an entire show dedicated to it would be overkill. If they're going to bring back more pieces of this 90s animated universe, I'd much rather see the return of Spider-Man or Silver Surfer, which ended on that brutal, unresolved cliffhanger, or even the Avengers and Iron Man. There is so much more to explore in this sandbox than just Logan on his own.
To wrap things up, I really loved the mini horror movie vibe of this episode. I don't 100% agree with the decision to infect Wolverine because it starved us of some great character interactions. Where was the scene of him mourning Maverick? But the ending was spectacular, matching the great energy of the X-Force episode, which I also loved. What did you think of episode 5? Was it amazing? Did it let you down? Or were you expecting more? Let me know in the comments below. If this video helped you catch some details you missed, smash that like button. It really helps push this video to more of the X-Men community here on the channel. And make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss a brand new breakdown of X-Men 97, the Batman, and everything else in the comic book universe that we cover here every single week. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.